It's Christmas and Hanukkah this week, and I've got something to say about each of them. Plus, we're moving into a new house, as you know, and our question of the week from Jesus is, what do you want? Finally, I'm going to give a weekly report on our campaign to raise $40,000 by the end of the year. I am Dr. Dwight A. Moody in the meeting house, and this is Sunday in the house. Thank you for tuning in today for my commentary on life, politics, and Jesus. Let's start with life. We're moving into a new housing development of about 50 homes here in Travelers Rest, South Carolina. Every day, moving trucks are arriving, bringing lots of kids and lots of stuff. I have more than enough stuff. I suspect you do as well. We're living in the age of the storage unit. I've spent several decades paying monthly rent for a storage unit, and I suspect some of you have as well. Do you have enough stuff? Come over here and take some of mine. You can treasure it all your life, and then your kids can just throw it out. That's life in these United States. So is this year. It's one of the worst years in American history, I think, and many of us do. As bad in some ways as the Civil War and the years of the Great Depression. For very different reasons, yes. But here is my message. We will survive. Some of you are old enough to remember the song, I Will Survive. Here's part of the lyrics. Go on now, go walk out the door. Just turn around now, because you're not welcome here anymore. I think that was maybe 1975. That's our message for the Donald. He's here, he's blowing up everything, blowing up caring for the poor, blowing up insurance, medical insurance, blowing up FEMA, blowing up scientific research, blowing up our partnerships around the world. And in its place, he's building prisons. But I want you to know, and I want the Donald to know, we're going to survive. We are strong, and we're going to demonstrate our greatness by how we survive all that he has dumped on us. We have a commitment to democracy, to transparency, to religious freedom, to equality and opportunity for all. We have a commitment to hospitality, to those seeking a refuge and a fresh start in life, because that's the way it's done in the United States of America. It was 51 weeks ago, January the 3rd, this year, I launched this broadcast as part of the resistance against the president and his Project 2025. He's given free rein to all of his billionaire bros. But week by week, I have sent this double-barreled message to say no to Trump and yes to Jesus. My protest sign, I don't have it up today, reads simply, less Trump and more Jesus. Each week, I have presented a red letter lesson. This title is taken from the practice of Bible printers printing the words of Jesus in red. I have a fresh appreciation for this because MAGA Christians don't pay much attention to the words of Jesus. But these are the words we need to hear and heed in the United States today. That's my conviction. I think it's your conviction. There are lots of other words, Leviticus, Ezekiel, Corinthians, even the Revelation at the very end. But what we need most today are the red letter words of Jesus himself. I've presented these words as a way to feed my soul, and I hope it's fed your soul. I have shared these week by week to stir my imagination and yours to think about how Jesus would respond to what we're dealing with today. You have to remember, Jesus was surrounded by the Roman Empire, powerful people, wealthy people who wanted to keep everybody else under the thumb. It was a ruling class that tolerated no rivals and used violence to put down any resistance and every revolt. I want you to remember these two events. These were some of the very first red letter lessons that we dealt with as we looked at the political context of Jesus' ministry. When he was born, you remember, his birth was threatened. His birth threatened Herod, the Roman ruler, and Herod ordered babies to be murdered. There was weeping and gnashing of teeth, weeping and wailing across the land. Mothers and families wept for their dying children. How many places in the world today is this also true? This is the way Jesus' life began. How did it end? You know how it ended, with the same Roman government executing Jesus on a cross. They were convinced that his kingdom message was a threat to their kingdom. They killed him. They hung him on a cross, a Roman cross. They thought that would be the end of everything. All over the world and in our own country, political powers are arresting people they think are dangerous and pushing others out of the country or confining them to camps and prisons or even executing them. It's the way of the powerful against the powerless. In addition to the beginning and the end, throughout his ministry, Jesus, you remember, had to navigate empire things, taxes, soldiers, the death of his friends, such as John the Baptizer. He was beheaded. He was careful to explain how his kingdom, his rule was different than Rome. He used similar language, but he had in mind something very different. During this year, 2025, we've had our own project. We went on to explore different elements of Jesus' life and teaching, his prayer, his parables, and in these last few Sundays, including today, the questions that Jesus asked. And today's question is right on target. Here's the setting. The mother of two disciples, two of his closest associates, came to Jesus. And according to Matthew chapter 20, where it tells the story, she's not named, and I want to make a point of this. This woman is identified only as the mother of Zebedee's sons. This is one sign of the masculine voice that dominates the entire biblical culture and all of the biblical literature. This woman who came to Jesus and had a conversation with him has no name. She goes only by the name of a man, the father of her sons. It doesn't even say that she's the wife of that man. No, she's the mother of Zebedee's sons. This is one reason why we always have to recognize the masculine factor in every story, on every page, with every command or every prohibition. This is coming out of the masculine way of looking at things, the masculine way of telling the stories. This is why we need scholars to help us uncover and embrace the human factor, the human virtue, the human dynamic behind all of this macho context. It's important to note that Jesus sees this woman, listens to her, carries on a conversation with her. His question is, what do you want? There are two questions in this narrative. This is the first one. What do you want? And she tells him, she says, I want, when you come into your kingdom, I want my two boys to sit at your right hand and your left hand. I want them to be up there with you in a position of power, prestige, and importance. You know, it's an interesting question. Jesus asking me and you, what do you want? This woman was honest. She wanted something good for her boys. But this question is the hinge upon which this story turns. It's also the question for you and me. What do you want today? What is it you want in life and in death? What do you want in marriage and family life? What do you want from school? What do you want from your work? What is it that you want in life? Do you even know what you want? Do you want somebody to love? Do you want somebody to hit? A way to express your anger. Do you want an education? Do you want grandchildren? Do you want a new house? Do you want better neighbors? Do you want peace of mind or a larger pension? Do you want to understand yourself better, or your spouse, or your kids, or your parents? What is it that you want today? Jesus asked this of every single person. You know, this time of year, we ask the question, what do you want for Christmas? Make a list. Be clear about it. Tell Santa Claus what you want. Kids can do this, you know, they know exactly what they want. But many of us are confused about what we want. We're hesitant to admit what we really want. What did this woman want? She wanted prestige and honor for her kids. That's not a bad thing. What do you want for your children? Happiness, success, love, purpose, friendship? My grandson is 17, Sam. Many of you know about him. He's a high school senior, graduates next June. I've told him many times what I want for him. I want him to be strong and sweet and smart and self-controlled. That's not a bad quartet of qualities, is it? What do you want for your children, for your grandchildren? This mother wanted her sons to have a place of honor in the political realm. A lot of people want that for themselves and their friends. Political responsibility is not a bad thing if your motivation is service to the people. Some powerful people want to control people and dominate people, not serve them. The president we have now will be known as the one who shut down medical care, cut food for the poor, eliminated scientific research for everybody, and instead built prisons and camps for innocent people. That's the way he's going to be remembered. He joins a long list of rulers who think only of themselves and not of the people like you and me. He's a wicked man with a wicked past and creating a wicked future. He's the kind of person, I want to admit, that makes me want to believe in hell. No mother wants their son to be that kind of person, that kind of ruler. This unnamed mother in the story of Jesus came to Jesus. She heard the question, what do you want? And she said, I want my sons to be given places of honor and power in your kingdom, one on your right, one on your left. This tells us a little something about what people thought about Jesus and his future. Many people thought that he was promising a kingdom just like all the other kingdoms. She was thinking in political terms, with political categories and political results. You're going to be a powerful man, she implied to Jesus, and I want my two sons to have power with you. But Jesus pushed back. I don't think so, ma'am. My vision of the kingdom is different. He said, I'm looking for leaders who can serve the people, not dominate the people. I want leaders who will help the people, not hurt the people. I want the places of honor filled with people who are not looking to gather wealth and power to themselves, but who are looking to help others secure work, seek the truth, and be kind to their neighbor. That's what I want, Jesus said. And I want to say, that's what I want. How about you? Does that resonate with what you want in life? The great need we have in our country today and in the world is leaders who will reject the tribalism that is sweeping the globe and embrace a welcome for all people of goodwill. This week, a man and his son in Australia, as you know, started firing their guns, and a crowd of people gathered for a celebration. 15 people died, another 40 are injured, many of them are still in the hospital. Who were these people? They were Jewish people gathering to celebrate Hanukkah, a popular Jewish religious festival. Half a world away, two prominent Jews in Hollywood were killed by their own son, who was a known drug addict. While there's no known connection between these two, they draw our attention to the Jewish people at this time of year as we celebrate the birth of a Jewish boy. His name is Jesus. He was born to Jewish parents. We have all sorts of titles for Jesus: Son of God, Son of Man, Messiah, Rabbi, and especially Lord. That's what the Christians say. Jesus is Lord. Some even call him God. I don't like to do that. But regardless, the first word we need to use to describe Jesus is Jew. Jesus was a Jewish man. He was a human being, part of the Jewish ethnic race. This is the first line of defense against the anti-Jewish rhetoric and reasoning that's so dominant in the world today. Too many of us hate other people because they belong to the wrong tribe. They have the wrong religion, the wrong country, the wrong color, the wrong language, the wrong politics, the wrong family. We hate them because they vote wrong or sing wrong or speak wrong or worship wrong, or so we think. We like people like us, who look like us and worship like us. We hate others because they live on the other side of the river or because they worship in a different kind of sanctuary or dance to a different kind of music. I want to tell you, I love the Jewish people. And I want to testify today. I want to push back against the anti-Jewish anger that's fueling violence against Jewish people. My Savior was a Jew. My risen Savior still is a Jew. Our gospel, the Bible tells us, is to the Jew first. I want to testify today about some of the Jewish people who have shaped my life as a person and as a minister. I want to start with a story when I was in high school. One of my buds was a Jewish boy. This was in St. Louis, Missouri. He was a drummer with me in the high school band. Steve Sherman is his name. He still lives out in Missouri. We were good friends. And then this happened. I was asked to give the benediction at our high school graduation. It was the largest high school in the state. We gathered in Kiel Auditorium. Steve's mother was a teacher. She was a Jew, and I was known to be a young preacher boy. She was afraid that I would interject Jesus into my public prayer. She filed a complaint or a request with the school administration. The principal called me into his office. Turns out, I knew who he was, but I did not know this, that he not only was a Christian, but a Baptist. He explained the situation. And then he said this: they want me to make you turn in your prayer for approval. But you and I know Baptists don't write out our prayers. So I'm not going to ask you to do that. But I want you to be careful. I want you to be considerate about their concerns. and about your opportunity. You know, I don't remember a single thing I said in that prayer. I don't think there's a recording of it, but I do remember that one of my classmates said to me afterwards, he was the state wrestling champ. He turned to me and slapped me on the back and said, "Moody, that was one hell of a prayer." I don't know what inspired him to say something like that. That was my first experience with Jewish people. And it was not a negative experience at all. I went to college as a young preacher boy and I signed up for Hebrew, biblical Hebrew. I took 2 years of the classical study. I loved every minute of it. In the class was a football player by the name of Benji Bluestein. He was Jewish, of course. He was from Georgia. After college, he went back to Georgia to Glenn County, which included St. Simon's Island and Brunswick. And he ran a bicycle shop there for years and years. And I stopped in to see him a couple of times while we were vacationing down there. But 44 years later, Jan and I moved to Glenn County to St. Simon's Island, and I became friends with the local rabbi. She was the leader in the ministerial cohort that was trying to influence how the authorities were dealing with the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, which happened right there just a few miles from our home. I went over to the synagogue once and toured it. I saw a bronze plaque hanging on the wall honoring the Bluestein family, several generations, for their years of faithfulness and generosity. One Shabbat evening, I went to their service and I took with me my grandson that I mentioned a minute ago. He was standing right next to me when the rabbi said, "Now let's pray." They had a ritual prayer. They all prayed it in Hebrew. And to my surprise and utter amazement, my grandson started reciting that prayer in Hebrew in a loud, strong voice. I was shocked. I knew that his other grandfather was Jewish, but I didn't know he knew enough about Jewish worship to recite this prayer so cleanly and clearly. I was so proud of him that night. Not just that he knew the prayer and could say it in Hebrew, but that he was learning early in life to cross boundaries, to accept people, to honor what others believed and practiced and thought. That happened just a few years ago after we retired and moved down there. But in 1973, something else happened. Jan and I were preparing to go to Israel to live and to study. We were living in Lexington, Kentucky at the time, and to prepare, the local rabbi, Bernard Schwab of Ohave Zion Synagogue, agreed to coach me in modern Hebrew pronunciation and cursive writing. Each week, I went to his office in what Lexington people now know as the popular eatery Joe Bologna's on Maxwell Street. I learned how to write in cursive. I still have the little blue book that he gave me to practice. I honor him for that. He didn't have to do that. We spent a year in Israel completing language, ulpan they call it, to learn modern Hebrew. We traveled all over the country. We survived the Yom Kippur War. We learned to love Israel and Jerusalem, to appreciate Jews and Muslims and Arab Christians and Orthodox Christians of all kinds who manage most of the sacred sites over there. It was the single most transforming experience of my adult life and my ministerial journey. The year we were there, Yitzhak Rabin succeeded Golda Meir as Prime Minister of Israel. They were both great leaders. One of my teachers that year was Anson Rainey. You will not know the name unless you are familiar with Near Eastern archaeology or the study of ancient Semitic languages like Ugaritic. Dr. Rainey was a Baptist minister with a PhD in Near Eastern studies. He taught at Tel Aviv University and also at my school, now known as Jerusalem University College. He was the chief translator at the small chapel where we worshiped on Narkis Street. He invited Jan and me to live with them, he and his wife, while we finished our studies. Later in life, he converted to Judaism, married a native known as a Sabra. He traveled to the United States to give lectures, and on a number of occasions, we opened our home to him when he came to speak. 2 weeks before he died, he delivered a series of lectures in Louisville, Kentucky. I went to hear him. He gave a testimony in a local Baptist church, and I was there as well. He wasn't feeling well, and he said so. After his testimony, I gathered some people around him, and we laid hands on him and offered prayer for his health. He returned to Israel, to Petah Tikva, and died. I tell you these stories to dispel any hint of prejudice toward Jews. Jews are people. They're people of the book, people of messianic hope, people of courage and kindness, people of God and of the Spirit, people through whom God has blessed the world, through whom God has blessed me and you and all of us who follow Christ. One last story before I light the candle of Hanukkah. In my work in the meeting house since 1998, I interview people. I've interviewed many Jews, Muslims, Christians of all kinds, atheists, agnostics. 2 years ago, I had a series of programs in 7 cities in 4 states. I called it the Tangle Tour of 23. The last event was in Hendersonville, North Carolina. My guest before a live audience was the new cantor at Agudas Israel, the Hebrew congregation there in town. Ted LeBeau is his name. He's an opera trained singer. I should say a trained opera singer. That's the way to say it. I learned the difference and similarities between a rabbi and a cantor. Later, Jan and I attended the dinner and installation service for him at the synagogue there in Hendersonville. I tell you these stories from my professional and personal life. They're part of my testimony of Christ. I see Christ in every person, especially the Jews. To the Jew first, our gospel says, I renounce any and every animosity toward Jewish people as a nation, as a tribe, as a family, as individuals. They are, like the rest of us, a mixture of good and bad, kind and cruel, smart and silly. I honor their life, their religion, and their worship. And tonight, I'm going to light the candles of Hanukkah. Today is Sunday. It's the 8th day of Hanukkah. I have never done this before, that is, light a Hanukkah candle. Maybe you haven't either. But I want to make a pledge today to make this an annual practice in my home. I want to affirm and support the Jewish people. This is sometimes different than supporting the state of Israel. That state, like our own, sometimes does things that are unjust and ungodly. I say so when I think so. Some of you have heard me talk like this. But it does not dissuade me from embracing the Jewish people and embracing in any and every Jew who will let me. Peace be upon Israel. Peace be upon all the Jews and also every Gentile. My home and my heart are open to any Jewish person. I hope you're the same. That is what I want. Jesus asked, what do you want? And I say, I want to join hands with Jewish people today as we do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. Thank you for tuning in to the meeting house today for Sunday in the house. I'm Dr. Dwight A. Moody. I hope you have a wonderful week, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy Hanukkah. God's blessing upon you all.